What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 27 of the Hoop Venue podcast. My name is Tyler, and as always, I'm joined by my great friend Sean. We're almost 7 hours removed from probably the craziest, most eventful, and in my opinion, the most exciting trade deadline in NBA history. Absolutely absurd. In our last episode, we talked about the Lakers getting Luka Doncic and the Mavs getting Max Christie and Anthony Davis. That was like kind of what kickstarted everything. And from there, it was straight chaos. The Mavs weren't done making moves. The Lakers weren't done making moves. Nobody in the league was done making moves except for the Orlando Magic, who didn't make any moves. But, Sean, who do you feel, and you might be a little biased here, but who do you feel was the biggest winner of this year's trade deadline?
I'm going to save the other team for conversation later. I have two teams that I do want to highlight. One, I love Cleveland getting DeAndre Hunter for what I thought was a steal. And I like Karis LeVert, but you get a guy that's having a career year that fits a spot. And I thought it's like, look, you could probably give up like Max Strus and give him maybe more draft compensation. The deal rolls through. I'm like, that's kind of light because now your rotation is DG, Donovan Mitchell, DeAndre Hunter, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. But then off the bench, it's still Ty Jerome, Sam Merrill, Max Strus now goes to your bench. Isaiah Curl's now still on your bench. Dean Wade, you still have back there. I put a tweet out that got a lot of heat that was like, this is the best team in the Eastern Conference. And I don't particularly care that they lost to the Cavs the other night. I really don't. This is the best team in the East. They've been the best team in the East for this season. So yeah, I want to highlight them for pulling this one off. Shout out to Cleveland for getting DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, I'm glad you added that last point because I've been for a few episodes now on the train that the Cavs were already the best team in the East, and I just really like the way they match up with Boston. I really hope we get that series. But yeah, I think DeAndre Hunter was just a major upgrade in every way. I actually do really like Karis LeVert in terms of like a legit ball handler, really, really underrated passer, and just a pretty crafty scorer. Like, honestly, if you squint hard enough watching Karis LeVert, you'll see some young Shea. I'm not saying it's comparable productivity-wise, but you'll see some of the same moves. But in all seriousness, Karis LeVert started this season with an absolute magnet ball, shooting like 46% from three or whatever, and looked like one of the best bench players in the league. The moment that three-point shot regressed, all of the other flaws that come with LeVert kind of came to the forefront, and it was like, okay, LeVert's going to try defensively, but he is still a little bit physically weak, probably not very versatile, things like that. Offensively, he is a guy who takes the ball out of the Stars' hands. Like, there are a lot of minutes, like, Garland and Mitchell stagger, but with a lot of that staggering, you also get like, okay, now Garland's going to stand in the corner while Karis LeVert runs pick and roll for 4 possessions. And it's just like, there's no reason to be taking the ball out of your best player's hands. And maybe that wouldn't have been a thing in the playoffs, but even in that Boston game, like when LeVert came onto the floor with Mitchell, LeVert became like the offensive centerpiece over Mitchell, even though Mitchell had scored like 9 unanswered points right before that. So it was a little bit weird to me. And that's kind of always been my drawback is like LeVert, for as skilled as he is a guy that kind of needs the ball in his hands to work. DeAndre Hunter not only doesn't need the ball in his hands to work, he's a much more effective 2-point scorer than LeVert, both in terms of getting to the rim and getting to the mid-range for quick 1-2 dribble pull-ups. Yep. He gets the line at a very high rate, like 5 free throw attempts per game this season, and that's as like an off wing. So really serious pressure there. Having a career year shooting the 3 ball, knows how to play off of screens, knows how to spot up, move without the ball, and then most importantly to me, added size, just size, man. Size matters a lot in the playoffs. Like, you can't teach. Yeah, that sounded crazy, but you can't teach.
I had something in my eye. I swear. I had something crazy in my eye. And I looked to my left. It's awful timing.
I saw you make a face, and I was like, I know that's gonna sound crazy. But you can't teach size and athleticism. So any chance you ever have to get bigger on the court without sacrificing skill, because that's like the drawback. It's like when you get bigger, when you get Rudy Gobert, you're losing a shooter and a ball handler. You just got a 6'8" wing who can shoot, who can dribble. Not much of a passer, but will make like the right reads. I just think huge upgrade. And then it's you didn't sacrifice any of like your key rotation pieces. Yeah. I think Strus or Jerome would have been big losses, but like Niang, what's his utility in a playoff series at this point anyways? It's like I feel like he's more of a chemistry guy. Like I'm pretty sure he was best friends with Jared Allen, so you hope that doesn't like hurt any of their chemistry. But like, and then Karis LeVert, I honestly didn't even view Karis LeVert as a playable guy in a Boston series. So for them to get not only a playable guy in a Boston series, but someone who's going to start and then play 25 to 30 minutes, yeah, I think just I really agree with you. I don't know if I'd say the Cavs were the biggest winner, but it was kind of like a move out of left field that I wasn't expecting, and it was an A+. Like I love the move.
To your point about the 2-point scoring, Karis LeVert, 45.2% 2-point score in the half court this season for Cleveland. DeAndre Hunter, by the way, I want to throw out the attempts too. 115 2-point attempts in the half court for Karis LeVert. 197 attempts in the half court from 2-point range. He's like taking more 2-pointers than threes DeAndre Hunter has. He's shooting 51.3% on 2-pointers in the half court this season.
Wow. And can I also add, that's with like Atlanta spacing versus Cleveland spacing. So, yeah, I'm really excited for that. Who's another team that you thought was like came away and just like kind of fleeced, like just a big winner?
This is probably like sleeper, like dark horse winner of the deadline. Low key, they're not going to do anything in the playoffs. They're not going to do a single thing. But low key, I like what Miami's doing.
Dude, I wanted you to bring them up so bad. What do you like about Miami? Because, dude, I'm with you. Like, this roster's awesome.
This roster's awesome, and, like, I would have to think. Dallas is really deep once they get everybody healthy, but, like, Cleveland's still, like, absurdly deep. This is one of the more deeper teams in the league still. Stop me when I don't say a rotation player for, like, any team in the league. Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Andrew Wiggins, Bam Adebayo, Khalil Ware, or Khalil? Is it Khalil?
Khalil. It's Khalil.
Khalil.
I made
all
a
right.
mistake too.
Khalil Ware, Terry Rozier.
I'm popping you.
All right. Ignore. My bad. Jaime Jaquez.
Yep.
Haywood Highsmith.
Yep.
Nikola Jovic.
Yep.
Davion Mitchell.
Davion, I think, is teetering on the border. I think that's a tough one. I would say throw Terry Rozier out the window, which sucks because I was so high on Terry in Charlotte, man. And then when they made that move, I was so hyped for the move, but it just has not panned out. Davion Mitchell, I think, has some utility depending on the matchup.
Yeah.
But that's the 9th guy you got to. Like, you had 8 guys before that. And
Yeah, real dudes, like above average players, I would say, for almost all of those guys.
I'm pretty sure we talked about this. I could be, maybe I'm thinking of a different podcast I was on, but I'm pretty sure you and I had this conversation where I said, like, it was even ignoring a Jimmy deal. It was like, Hero, Jovic, Bam, Ware, find your 1A, and you have a serious...
Yes, we talked about that.
Yes, that was us. Okay, so now it's like, that dialed up to 1,000,000. Like, I think Hero's an awesome player. I still don't think he's ever going to be a 1A. And some of it is, like, athletic limitations. I also just don't think he'll ever be, like, the type of playmaker that you really need to be a big-time number 1, even though really underrated passer and then probably a top 5 shooter on the planet at this point. Like, Tyler Hero. Shout out to Tyler Hero. He's awesome. Khalil Ware. The defensive film already looks amazing as a rookie.
He's so good.
He's so good. He's one of the biggest lob threats in the league. He's a great stretch 5. Bam Adebayo, starting to get back to form. I don't know if you've picked up on like this last week. His scoring is coming back. Like, he's been dropping like efficient 20 balls. He had like a crazy like 30-point triple double a few days ago. And then it remains probably a top 5 defender on the planet. Jovic, I was really high on as a defender. Now you get Wiggins instead, and it's like, yeah, come along, come on,
in
man.
the playoffs.
Yeah,
like,
dude. Yeah.
Are they just like a slightly worse version of the Rockets in the East? Where, like, in a playoff setting, like, those are going to be 85 to 82 games, and, like, can Tyler bail them out
really
late?
Good. They're really good. And honestly, I don't even think this is a hot take. Like, Tyler Hero is a considerably better offensive player than anyone Houston has.
Yeah.
So like, and especially the spacing is a lot different. Like, Houston has Miami has a lot of shooters. Like, the way they utilize Duncan and Hero as movement shooters. And also, you can run Duncan and Hero together.
I completely forgot about Kyle Anderson, too.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even... Yeah, dude.
The amount of wing defenders they have. The amount of wing defenders they have in a playoff setting, dog. Like,
yeah.
Let me look at the standings right quick.
Dude, like the 1A... Dude, the 1A... Like, if they had a 1A, I'd be so high on them. And I'm already really high on them. Like, I love this Miami squad.
first round matchup. I don't think they will win. But right now, their first round matchup would be the New York Knicks.
I mean,
that's a tough draw. I'm not going to lie.
It is, but to be fair, and I obviously do think the Knicks would win that series.
Yes.
Knicks still haven't really beat anyone good. Like, besides the recent Houston game. But did Şengün even play in that game? The Houston-New York game where Brunson took over the fourth quarter? I don't think Şengün played.
I'd have to look. Although they beat Denver. Now,
that was a big win, by the way. That was a really big win.
Jokic played. Okay, I was about to say, let me guess.
And that was the game where Jokic got foul trouble and only played like 2 minutes in the first 14 minutes of the game. Remember that?
They destroyed healthy Memphis.
That's a big deal as well. Yeah, those were the two big wins I can think of. Memphis and Denver, and weren't they back-to-back games or something like that? Like they were
something like that.
Yeah, they were close on the schedule, so those are some big wins.
Houston with no Şengün.
Yeah, okay. So Cat's been dealing with a hand injury as well, so his three-point shot hasn't been there. So that's something that like has been hurting the Knicks. They're gonna get back. Like once they get normal Cat back, they'll look a lot better.
And then you lose after you beat Denver. This is why I honestly like erased the Denver win from my mind, because you beat Denver and then you lose to Lakers with Jackson Hayes as their starting five. Like, come on.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, going back to like Knicks Heat, I still think the Knicks win that series. But yeah, Heat make it really gross, and also like. That's probably a really bad Cat series. Going up against Bam and Khalil Ware. Like that's not a good matchup for Cat at all.
The amount of like
let's talk about it real quick, because this is like my favorite thing to do on our show is like matchups. Like who Khalil Ware on OG and then Bam on Cat? Switch all of the Cat pick and rolls, and then you get Bam on Brunson and ISO, and he's not really a bad matchup for Brunson. Dude, the Heat are kind of like a sneaky counter to the Knicks offense.
Yeah, so like starting fives, what is it for Miami? You're gonna go Hero. Is Duncan?
Does Duncan start? Does Duncan start? Who starts at the 2 for them?
Hold on, let me see.
I can't think of who starts at the 2 because it's gonna be Wiggins at the 3, obviously. It looks like they start Haywood Highsmith.
Oh, and then Duncan still. So like,
are they gonna go Duncan, Wiggins? Or are they going to go Highsmith Wiggins and just fully lean into the defense thing? I would assume they start Duncan.
I would also assume they start Duncan.
Hero, Duncan, Wiggins, Bam. And then, so you start Wiggins on Brunson and then switch everything with Bam? Dude.
That's disgusting.
That's kind of disgusting.
And then you're like.
Granted, Brunson's going to get like 38 a game. So it's like.
And Knicks fans are going to come back to us this episode 27 and, how stupid we are.
Also, Mitchell Robinson should be back soon. That'll be awesome. Yeah, but yeah, like Heat Pacers.
Ew.
Who do you think wins that? That'd be a good series, dude. That'd be a good, and that's another series.
I'm going Bam on Siakam.
I'm saying that's another series where you switch everything, and because Halliburton isn't really an ISO scorer.
Yeah.
So as long as you get back in transition, and Spoelstra will have his team back in transition. You switch everything. You got Khalil Ware to match up with Turner. That's another.
I'm going Khalil with Turner. I
do think Turner's a great counter to Khalil though, because Khalil does really struggle pick and pop, defending that. He's not really super quick.
Well then.
So I do think that is the counter for Indiana, like spam pick and pop at Ware. But then it's like, then Miami probably ends up with Bam on Turner. You just switch everything.
Yeah, they do like go Jovic if you need to even.
Yeah, because Jovic is a good defender. Dude, point being, Heat are deep and they have a lot of defense.
Yeah.
And they're a really good team. I just really hope they're able to land a 1A in the next like 3 years, because also all of these guys are like decent age. How old's Wiggins? Is he like 29? Like he's not.
Wiggins is 29 with 2 years left plus a player option on his deal.
Okay.
We're going to ignore Terry Rozier. Duncan Robinson is 30.
Okay.
He has a player option this summer, which I'm assuming he'll pick up. Kyle Anderson, 31. Davion Mitchell, 26. Taylor Highsmith, 28. Khalil, 20. Jaime, 23. Nikola Jovic, 21. Bam, 27. Tyler, 25. They're good. They're good. They have some really good pieces.
They walked out of here with one of the best possible returns I think they could have expected with the way the whole
Golden State paid them.
Right, with the way the whole Jimmy thing played out. And I guess we can just segue to that. Like, what are your thoughts on the Warriors Jimmy Butler stuff?
I think Jimmy will help. Obviously, I think Jimmy still at the very least gives them another guy that can create and score the ball for themselves. Obviously, and he does a good job of setting teammates up. I think you can go some split options with him as a creator and making reads out of the high post and stuff like that. I just don't know in recent memory if we've seen a team be as desperate as the Warriors have been.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's the thing that's kind of like setting me off a little bit about the whole thing. It's like damn, you guys are desperate. And then now the good news is, which is interesting for them at least, good on you for like maintaining your most intriguing asset in air quotes in Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski.
Yeah.
But I guess at the end of the day, like, how much does this really move the needle? Especially with this being your lone deadline move. Does this move the needle enough, right? I think they'll still be able to defend. You have Draymond still, who we obviously know. He was playing at a Defensive Player of the Year level at the beginning of the year. Jimmy's obviously a really good defender still. GP2. You have some guys, but like I don't know. I still have some reservations about this Warriors team, and I mean it's an uphill battle. The 11 seed right now. They're about to face the Lakers and Luka. Well, not Luka, but the new Lakers. You got San Antonio with De'Aaron Fox on your heels now. Sacramento, the Adam Levine, and they still have their crew outside of De'Aaron Fox. And Dallas, Minnesota,
Jake LaRavia.
I was wondering why he was getting DMPs the past few games.
Because the Memphis has 75 players.
Yeah. Good on them for getting something for some of those guys.
But yeah, to your point on the Warriors, I think Jimmy brings some much-needed skills. Like, the Warriors are a terrible team at drawing fouls. Jimmy's probably still like a top 5 to 7 guy at the league in drawing fouls. They have nobody, and when I say nobody, I mean not a single player on their entire roster, except for maybe Kuminga in the right scenario, that can consistently, like, half-court, defense is set, I'm going to beat my man and I'm going to pressure the rim. Jimmy Butler still brings that, even if he is a little bit slower. He's still got the first step. He's still a really physically overwhelming mismatch. So, yes, you do get the needed secondary creation that you've been begging for next to Steph. The problem is Steph has really, really regressed in, like, pretty much every way. From the shooting, because he has to work harder to get open, to the creating, because he's just not as quick, doesn't change directions as quick, and just struggles to create separation. Then the off-ball movement isn't as sharp, and it's just all of these things. So we're getting, like, performance after performance of Steph just really, really struggling. And it's like, in order for this Jimmy move to move the needle, you need Steph to be like 2022 Steph. You need consistent 30 balls. You need efficient offense. I saw a tweet today that said he was like below 60% true shooting for the first time since like 2011 or something crazy. He's just, it's just, Steph has regressed, right?
So you're saying Steph shouldn't be an all-star? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I definitely still think he should be an all-star. Like, that was a little harsh. The Warriors are going to be a very, very good defense. I'm with you there. I think Draymond and Jimmy as roamers is going to terrorize offenses. Like, the same way we talk about Luka and LeBron being like basketball geniuses they're going to pick apart. That's what Jimmy and Draymond give you on defense. They're both genius off-ball defenders who are just going to, like, blow up everything. But the offense, it just still doesn't move the needle. I was waiting. Right after Jimmy got traded, I was like, I'm going to wait to make a video on that because there's no way they're done, right? My idea was, now you have Steph, Jimmy, Draymond. The thing you need to pull it together is a legit stretch 5. Whether that's Vooch, whether that's even old Kelly Olynyk. You need a legit stretch 5. And they walked out of this deadline with their only stretch 5 being Quentin Post. So
the look of disappointment on your face when you said it's Quentin Post.
Yeah, dude, and shout out to Quentin Post, man. But it's just like, my idea was, look, I think it was a good trade in the sense that they didn't lose any of their, like, young building block trade pieces. They didn't sacrifice their future to get Jimmy, which was what kind of worried me. I was worried they were going to, like, send a complete haul. They still have Kuminga, still have Moody, still have Podziemski. So it's like, Yeah, you're doing all right. You're doing all right, and I think I do that deal if I'm the Warriors. It's just it doesn't really move the needle, and so I still think like yeah, they're probably a bigger playoff threat now to get into like an 8 seed or a 7 seed, and they will be better. I think because Jimmy, for all of his flaws, like I said, still gets to the line, still gets to the rim, still a legit pick and roll and ISO scorer, and these are things that the Warriors just straight up did not have remotely, even from Steph anymore. Steph doesn't really isolate anymore. Pick and rolls are limited. So yeah, I think
Schroeder wasn't moving you.
He wasn't, and Dennis Schroeder is moving though. Don't get that twisted. He's moving everywhere.
One of the most ironic things to have happened.
Yeah.
I'm not going to explain what. I'm not going to go into detail about what he said. I think we all know what he said.
Yeah.
But one of the most ironic things to happen over the last 24 hours.
I thought he was just getting trolled after like the third trade. I was like, dude, they're just trolling him at this point.
The first trade to Utah is so messed up.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that whole thing is crazy. But yeah, just to wrap that point up, I don't hate the move. I think Jimmy's still a really good player. I think he's an incredibly underrated player. It doesn't really move the needle for them, and I just will have to wait and see where they go from here, because I don't think maybe there's an offseason move they're waiting for. I don't like, you paid Jimmy Butler $60 million a year for 2 years. You clearly have a plan in mind, right? I hope.
Yeah. But the problem is, and that's why, like, paying him that amount just doesn't sit with me, because Steph next year, 37-year-old Steph, $59 million, like Jimmy Butler, $54 million as a 36-year-old next year. Draymond Green, $25 million. Somehow that's probably the best thing on their cap sheet is Draymond for $25 million, still giving you elite defense.
Yeah.
Look, I think that Golden State simply just waited too long in terms of, like, if we're being realistic, I think they should have pulled the trigger on a get Steph more help pretty immediately after they knew they were trading Jordan Poole. Like, that should, because like I truly believe, Tyler, that the vision was, okay, like, Jordan Poole's going to be the bridge guy. He's going to be the bridge guy that can help keep Steph fresh, and hopefully he blossoms into basically what he is now. And you could argue that's kind of what he was the title year too, but just like with increased volume and usage. But I mean, obviously, you know, you have the situation that happens in the preseason that season with Draymond and Jordan Poole, and you know, JP was never all the way right that season on the floor, and chemistry was obviously severely bothered by that incident. But I do believe that was originally the plan. Like, look, Jordan Poole is going to be the guy to help bridge us, you know, and keep us, you know, good enough in the regular season to where we can manage Steph and then just get him to the playoffs. And 16-game setting, it's still Steph Curry. But yeah, I think they waited too late, basically.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And you actually just created an awesome transition for me, because the Wizards had a pretty busy deadline. And I don't really want to talk about what's going on the Wizards side, because clearly they're just dumping salaries and things like that. Like, they got Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart on the roster right now. I wouldn't be surprised if those are buyout candidates. But they traded Valanciunas to the Kings. I don't think we really need to have strong thoughts on that. My takeaway is just, you finally got a backup big. You finally got some rebounding that isn't Sabonis. So yeah, cool. 14 minutes a game or whatever. Valanciunas, go out there, backup big, sure. The big
can
one
do some of the like elbow initiation
play
stuff.
Out of the
Yeah,
post. Yeah, 100%.
Probably a better post scorer than those two.
100%.
Not to cut you off.
Sabonis isn't even really a post presence. Valanciunas is a legitimately like good post up option.
Yeah. All right, now go ahead.
Kyle Kuzma to the Bucks. How do you feel about it?
If there was if I was able to just drop an F-bomb, I would say so effing mid. It's so mid. I did not like that deal whatsoever. Really the thing, Luka's, you know, waving hands and, you know, being a good guy. What a great guy he is. Sorry, that just came across my TV. I get it. Milwaukee wanted to get a little bit younger. I think he's going to provide them a little bit more athletic juice, I think, than Chris Middleton, what Chris Middleton is able to provide. At the very least, it's worth a shot to see Kuz back in a winning situation again, which is something you haven't seen from Kuz in like 4 years, arguably. Right. Maybe they like, I think the first year in Washington they were semi decent,
In 2023, the year with Kristaps, they weren't bad. They weren't
that's
good,
right.
but they weren't bad.
The Kristaps, Brad, Kuz, that team was actually pretty fun to watch. They weren't terrible. But Kuz has been really bad this season, which, like, I give a lot of bail to players for being in bad situations. I think there's some of that, for example, like Mark Williams in Charlotte, or like Dorian Finney-Smith with Brooklyn, or basically anybody who's played for Brooklyn, Detroit, or one of those really, really bad teams over the past few years. Typically, there's an argument to go around there, but I just think Kuz has been just really, really bad this season. Like, basically regardless of how you want to look at it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm waiting. I'm just kind of wait and see with the Kuzma situation, because I think in 23 and in 24, he was a legitimately solid player. Like, I think he was like a not efficient, but like a 55 to 56% true shooting guy and like 21, 22 points a game. One of the best rebounding wings in the league. Decent passer, pretty versatile defender. But then you get to this year and it's like, oh no, this is the worst player in the league. And I want to say a lot of it is him just being completely checked out of the Washington situation, to the point where he wasn't even playing basketball anymore. Like, he was dribbling down and shooting like above the break pull-ups at the beginning of the shot clock. Hasn't played a single possession of defense the entire season. I don't know, because there are bad habits there. Kuzma's been a bad habit player, even going back to the Lakers. Like, he is a bad habit player. I don't trust him at all as a shooter. Bad stretch or not, he's not a reliable shooter.
Never really has been. Right. Streaky at best.
Streaky, right. He'll have his moments, but he's not a consistently reliable shooter over the course of a playoff series. So to me, like you mentioned, get a little bit younger, get a little bit more athletic. I don't hate it, I don't love it, because I do think Middleton was probably as unreliable as a player gets in terms of health and consistency, where it's like, you might be healthy for a stretch, but during that stretch, you can only play 20 minutes a game. And for those 20 minutes, we don't know if we're going to get no possessions out of you or if you're going to go for 20. I feel like Middleton, like, shout out to Middleton. I just feel like he was one of the biggest up in the air question marks. Like, a week ago, I watched a game where he had 0 points, 0 rebounds, and 1 assist. I think it was against Portland or something like that. Like, he didn't exist on the court in that game. And it was just because you don't know the conditioning, the athleticism is completely gone. Not that it was really ever there, but gone completely. So, yeah, I think that was the vision. It's like, we're really old and decrepit. We have no versatility. Kuzma, at the very least, is just big and athletic. And like I said it earlier, you can't teach size and athleticism. I said it with DeAndre Hunter. Hunter's obviously on a completely different level from Kuzma, but it's the same line of thinking, where it's, we want some more size, we want some more rebounding next to Giannis and Lopez. We want to get a little bit younger in the front court. I think the biggest loss of the Bucks trade deadline wasn't necessarily getting Kuzma. It was still rolling into the playoffs with Lopez and Portis as your two centers.
Yeah,
that formula clearly doesn't work.
One thing with Kuz, A- matchup difficulty per B-ball index, basically say like he is taking tougher assignments more times than not. Good defensive positional versatility, guarding every position so far this season at least 10.9% of the time, and guarding 2 through 4, 16%, 30%, and 28% of the time. So a decently versatile player defensively, regardless of how good he is defensively. Like, he provides some size, but again, it'll be interesting to see like how much it was really just, okay, this situation stinks. He has the quote about the development thing in Washington too, where he's like, yeah, I don't care about anybody's development here or something. It wasn't that verbatim, but
it damn near was.
It might as well have been. Yeah, I just think it was mid. This is not a needle mover, in my opinion. Yeah, he's athletic. Yeah, he can rebound, but this does nothing.
Not at all. And also, something else with the Kuzma situation is, I get that it's tough to look at numbers for a player that's in a really bad situation, but I do think impact shows itself even in really bad situations, where it's like, if you look at adjusted plus minus data, for example, it'll tell you kind of who's good and who's bad to some degree. Like, when I saw the Kuzma move and I thought of like, okay, this is a big athletic guy on a terrible team, maybe we'll get a shift here. My mind immediately went to PJ Washington and Charlotte. But if you look at PJ Washington's like plus minus stuff in Charlotte, it already showed like, yeah, this guy's a really impactful player. Let's get him to a good team and you'll see it. Whereas Kuzma's impact stuff paints him as like one of the most detrimental players in the league. And so I don't know how much of that to lean into, but I guess that's just me saying if he goes to the Bucks and is just a complete disaster and like becomes unplayable, I wouldn't be surprised. But on that same token, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these tendencies get figured out right away and he's just a decent piece, just a decent role piece.
Yeah. Milwaukee's sitting 5th in the Eastern Conference, 27-22. Long ways for them from how the season started.
Dude, that was ridiculous. We could go a lot of directions from here. I guess let's take it. I kind of want to not talk too long about like the Kevin Durant situation, but it seems like Phoenix was kind of, and I guess I'll just say it outright. Phoenix is easily the biggest loser of the deadline. They did absolutely nothing but get off of Nurkic. Now you're
Had
just
to attach a first to do it too.
Oh my gosh, the Suns, dude, the Suns. They tried to deal KD, it seemed like, at least from like all the reports I got. And a few teams were really interested, and KD basically shut them all down. I don't know if KD has a no trade clause or if it was just like,
does.
I won't re-sign. Is that what it was? I don't know. But I'm really glad that Memphis, because that was the one I kept saying. I was like, Memphis has the pieces to get KD. They have the assets, and they would really benefit from getting that half-court offensive weapon. Memphis tried to make a move on KD multiple times, and KD himself said no. Golden State tried to make a move on KD. No. So now the Suns, who are like, 25-25 or something like that? Like, they're like a 500 team, barely hanging on to a play-in spot, and did absolutely nothing to improve their situation. I'm kind of at a loss for words, man. What are the Suns doing, man?
They are painfully mid.
Yeah.
And just a miss on my part about them heading into the year. Thought they were able to kind of figure it out. I liked Bud as a coach. I like Bud as a coach. I was on the mindset too, personally, like I'm not sure if I honestly forget the name of their owner at this point.
Matt Ishbia?
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, there we go. It just wasn't coming to me. I was at the point where if they did somehow find a way to trade Kevin Durant, that I would have went, okay, low key, let's just like restart.
Yeah.
Just
Agreed.
restart the team. Devin Booker, love you. Let's strip this thing from scratch. Bud, tell me the guys you want to coach or whatever, like the archetype of player that you want to coach and build your future teams around. And let's go. Let's like fix this. But basically just getting off of Nurkic and not doing much else. Like Cody Martin's, he's fine, but he's not better than Grayson Allen.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, yay, them getting Nick Richards a couple weeks ago. And then also Cody Martin, I'm not prioritizing Cody freaking Martin over Ryan Dunn. I'm not doing that either.
But even on the Nick Richards point, like, I don't think he's a starting center for a playoff team.
No.
Especially when his backup is Plumlee. Like, what are we doing? That team is just so fatally flawed in so many ways that, like you said, Mike Budenholzer never had a chance, man.
Yeah.
Like, this team is just so fatally flawed.
He has Mason Plumlee and Oso Iguodaro or whatever.
Yeah.
I like Oso coming out, but those are your two backup big options.
Yeah.
First round matchup with them in Denver, hypothetically, like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's
Denver
bad.
Sweep.
It's bad. Yeah, that's really bad.
Maybe you give KD and Book one game, but like that is a really ugly series.
Yeah, for sure. I want to go back to Memphis for a sec because I did see, I think it was Brian Windhorst was talking about the Grizzlies really tried. So one of my biggest,
Marvin Bagley? Did I miss that?
I missed that too. But I kind of frowned upon the Grizzlies trade deadline at first because I was like, they haven't done anything and I feel like they're not there yet. Like they need a little push. And then Brian Windhorst came out and said that the Grizzlies called like everyone. They tried to get Cam Johnson. They tried to get Kevin Durant. They really, really tried to make a move and just couldn't figure anything out. So like it just kind of sucks. It's a bummer, but it's not a result of generational incompetence like some of these other teams. So yeah, I just wanted to get back to that because like Grizzlies, I really like their core. I still think they need to like make some moves. Like they made some moves on the margins. Like they traded LaRavia, they traded Smart, but they didn't really get a push. So I do think they're still a flawed playoff team that still needs that extra push. Unless Jaren Jackson is just a 30-point per game scorer now, like he's been over the past week, then you're good. You're chilling.
Yeah, I'm just at the point now where he's their best player.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Clearly.
I like held back on that for a while at the beginning of the year, but no, it's pretty obvious at this point.
Yeah.
And John's actually started to play pretty all right recently.
Yeah. He is. And Bane.
But Jaren's
Jaren's crazy. Another team that tried to trade for KD was the Timberwolves. They didn't do a thing. Did
I miss that?
You must have missed it. Yeah, the Timberwolves, it was like a last-second thing. Apparently, like right before the deadline ended, the Timberwolves really tried to rush a KD deal. I don't know what the package would have been, but that got shut down. So, Timberwolves tried to trade for KD. And my initial take was another team that would have been pushed to tier 1 by fans, but would have fallen apart because they have no passing. Because every time two scorers pair up together, you get ball don't stop tweeting highlights. You get I don't know how they're going to guard both of us from the players. And then because that just reminded me of Booker. I don't know how teams are going to stop all three of us when they got Beal just to have an average offense. Yeah,
just be like the 15th best
you need
offense
a connector.
in the league.
Every team thinks that they can be the Warriors without Draymond. Every team. Like, dude, you need the connective piece. Stop trying to pair scorers together and expecting them to just like function as an offense. Going back on track though, another team that I think absolutely A-plussed the deadline was the Spurs because you didn't trade a single piece of your young core. You kept Stephon Castle, Vassell, Sohan, Champagnie, name them, they're still on the roster. Besides Trey Jones,
Not
Zach
to cut
Collins.
you off.
Go ahead.
Do you like in the summer? I'm low-key shopping Devin Vassell to go like upgrade other pieces on the roster.
Yeah, I was talking to Nerd Sesh about this. I was like, I don't view Vassell like as this big time piece of the future. I think he's a good scorer, but at this point, I'm looking for connectors for Fox and Wemby, and it's like Stephon Castle for analytics. Twitter hates Stephon Castle because every time a rookie guard starts to get hyped up, everyone looks at box plus minus and true shooting percentage. Did we not learn from when rookie Garland was the worst player in the NBA? And then as a sophomore was a beast, as a third-year player was even better. Now is probably going to make an All-NBA team. Like, come on.
Stephon Castle, Darius Garland, hashtag noticing.
Yeah. No, but like Stephon Castle, like the flashes are very clearly there. The passing, the slashing, and the defense. That's going to be a really good piece. And Fox, did you see us? Fox specifically texted him and said, I don't want them to trade you for me. I want to play with you.
That makes sense.
That's such an awesome thing to like. That's such an awesome mindset.
As a rookie, too.
I love De'Aaron Fox, man. I love De'Aaron Fox. But
I love Stephon Castle. Last 10 games, 16.5 points, 4.2 rebounds, 3.8 assists. Okay, true shooting. Who cares?
Right.
Who cares? He's going to be an All-NBA defender by year 3. And that might be like, he could be an All-NBA defender next year.
And the passing, dude. Seriously good passer.
Enough. Like, they have fine enough passing. Combined with him and... Go ahead.
I was going to say, I love the scoring aggression, too. Like, he's not afraid to put his head down and catch a body.
Yeah. Really aggressive driver. And so this is one of my takes. And based off how you've seen the two players now, I'm curious if you have any differing opinions on it. But my opinion, like, in the draft, was that UConn did more than Donovan Clingan, and UConn kind of, for, like, his status and the opinion on Donovan Clingan, and it kind of hurt Stephon Castle a little bit. And what your opinion on Stephon Castle was coming out?
I was saying, we had this conversation before, like at the beginning of the season. We talked about this with Klingan. Yeah, I remember having this conversation. But yeah, so what do you think? So you're saying trade Vassell. What do you think the ideal like 3-4? Say your core 3 is Fox, Castle, Wemby. What's your ideal 3-4?
You want to take a wild guess who's the first name that popped up?
Is it Cam Johnson?
It's Cam Johnson.
Cam Johnson. Yeah, that makes sense. I would say my ideal 3. you know who my two guys would be? Like if I was just like playing 2K, the two guys I would try and trade for are and one of these guys is definitely off the table, but I just have to throw him out there because I think it'd be such a perfect pairing. Who?
I don't know why. I don't know why Herb Jones is the first name that came to my mind.
No,
that defense would be filthy, though.
That'd be filthy. I was thinking
Trey Murphy?
passer between Fox and Wemby. I was thinking Scotty Barnes. Like Scotty Barnes at the 4 and then Cam Johnson at the 3. Fox, Castle, Cam, Barnes, Wemby. Give me the dynasty, man.
Is trade override on?
Trade over. Yeah. But no, I think people overthought the initial Fox Wemby fit. They were like, we want a lob passer like Trey next to Wemby. I think Fox as a slasher, as a mid-range operator, the pick and pop with Wemby is going to be absolutely filthy. I don't know how you guard that because even if Fox has regressed a little bit as a slasher, he doesn't get to the rim as much. Like, you still can't let him turn the corner. He's still ferociously fast and he shoots like 70% at the rim still. You can't let the guy turn the corner. Oh, once I help, now the 7'4" guy is catching it at the top of the key for a 40% 3. Nice. And then it's like, okay, let's put two on the ball. Let's have someone come to Wemby. And then it's like, Fox is a really good kickout passer. Wemby has roll gravity. Like, dude, corner threes are going to be available all the time. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Fox gets up to like a 7 to 8 assist a game guy just off the sheer fact of the gravity that him and Wemby create in the middle of the floor. And it's not even like Fox has to make that many advanced passes. I don't know if you kind of feel the same way, but like that's kind of where my mind went. I was like, Fox doesn't need to be some absurdly good passer. Him and Wemby generate so much pressure in a straight line going at the rim that the defense has to collapse.
Yeah. De'Aaron Fox to San Antonio. Again, I think you touched on it. The slashing ability is going to be super, super big for them. This season for Sacramento, at the very least, he's still a really, really good 2-point scorer. 53% 2-point scorer in the half court. Per Synergy, his rim field goal percentage was 62%, which is still, still really good. Like, De'Aaron Fox is a really, really good player. And I'm not going to lie, I even kind of maybe initially overthought it, for similar 67% of the rim. I think it's the actual number. Field goals to the rim within 5 feet.
When I made my video, I think it was 68.2 off of play-by-play stats. So it's got to be somewhere in that like 67 to 68 range. I don't know how it changed after his
one
debut.
Game. Yeah.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, yeah, like really, really good player. The fact that they're going to be so they are officially an offseason away from being title contenders. Like they get this right this summer. I don't know. I think Wemby and Fox is good enough to make a push. To make a push this year, like for a play-in spot maybe. I don't know if they ultimately make it. Do they have their pick this year? Dog, they had their pick this year.
They have two first-round picks this year.
Atlanta's and
I don't know. I don't know exactly whose it is, but I was going through because I made the video. They have 2 first-round picks this year, and then they have a first-round pick in every draft until 31. They still have all of their draft capital, and then they have so many young players. Like Champagne's 23, Sohan's 22, I think. Vassell's 24. And it's like, I think the 2 question marks are Vassell and Sohan. Do they pan out like you expect them to do? Because ideally, an ideal Sohan is like a soft version of what I want with Scotty Barnes in terms of defensive versatility and connecting. So it's like, yeah, dude, they are set. They are set. I also want to throw two more numbers at you.
And Atlanta's pick. Both picks as of right now are slotted at 10 and 11.
Are either of them protected?
The Atlanta pick is top 10 or lottery protected, I think.
Okay.
No, it's an unprotected pick.
No way. It's unprotected, and now the Hawks just blew up their team.
Okay, really quick, get your stat off because I hate what Atlanta did this at the deadline. Please get your stat off.
We'll talk about the Hawks after I get this quick stat off about De'Aaron Fox. 2 stats. Two stats I want to throw at you for Fox and the Spurs. As a team, the Spurs were driving 31 times per 36 minutes.
The Spurs were?
24th in the NBA. Fox alone is averaging 16 drives per 36. Him alone averages more than half of the Spurs team drives. So, immediate difference. They didn't have a downhill presence. Now they do. The biggest thing, though, my initial takeaway was when it comes to Wemby's individual production as a scorer, Chris Paul is a better pick and roll partner because he's looking for the pass. He's going to hit the pass with pinpoint accuracy. He's going to feed Wemby, right? But in terms of overall two-man efficiency, the scoring that Fox offers at this point just trumps anything Chris Paul can do. As a team, the Spurs in the pick and roll ball handler scoring this season, 12 points per game, 28th, 0.8 points per possession, 25th. De'Aaron Fox alone, 7.6 points per game, 14th, 1.07 points per possession, 91st percentile. So that right there, like, dude, you just took a team that couldn't score in the pick and roll, couldn't drive, and gave them an elite driver, elite pick and roll scorer, and they were already like knocking on the door of the play-in. They're going to be good now. Forget the fact that they have so many assets. Let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks.
What are you doing?
I don't know. I don't even want to talk about them because I don't know what they're doing.
Did the Jalen Johnson injury like change that much for them? Because we had just talked about, I felt, how we kind of saw the vision. We're going to surround Trey with a bunch of lengthy wings and bigger guards or whatever. They can play defense, hit shots. We're going to give him just freaking lean in the fact that Onyeka Okongwu is better than Clint Capella, has been better than Clint Capella for a couple years on end now. We have Shea, we have Jalen, we have DeAndre Hunter off the bench. Bogey's kind of have a down year, but the scoring threat that he still provides off the bench, and then Dyson, right? Cool. And we're just going to give Trey the ball, run spread pick and roll 90-plus times, and Jalen Johnson the ball 90-plus times. God forbid Jalen Johnson gets hurt, and they just say, F everything. We're going to trade DeAndre Hunter. We're going to trade Bogey. And, like, this team is terrible now. It's basically Trae Young, save us offensively.
It's so bad.
It's so bad. Yeah,
I don't even have a thought, man. It's just, I don't know what they're doing. Like I said,
the swaps mean nothing that they got for Karis LeVert.
I kind of said it with the Warriors. I was like, I feel like they have to have a plan in mind. That's kind of how I feel about the Hawks, but I don't know. This is just, it's sad, man. I want to see Trae Young compete, and I know Trae Young wants to compete so bad, and it's just, what can you do, man? I don't know. I don't have any words, man. We're left speechless. Shout out to the Hawks, man, because they left us speechless. You know who else left me speechless? The freaking Bulls. Because not only did they get like a very pedestrian return for Levine, which is kind of expected because we didn't really know what was going to happen with that contract. Did you see what the Bulls GM or owner said in a press conference today?
I'm scared. I did not see it.
There was a lot of bad stuff, and Kenny was good enough to tweet them all because he's a Bulls fan. He said one of the things he said was a lot of championship teams try to get built around 2 or 3 stars. Our goal is to build it around 9 to 10 very good players. What does that even mean? Does that mean they're never going to try and sign a star and they're actually just going to try and develop like 7 point guards with Vooch as your center? Like, because why do they still have Vooch? Why is he still on the team?
I go to Kenny's Twitter. The first thing I see is a trade deadline presser bingo card.
I saw that. Dude. Oh, man, it hurts, man. Chicago's my hometown team, and it just hurts, man. It really hurts.
I want to roll off the stuff that gets X'd off. One is stay competitive. Okay, free space. Average is not okay with us. Next 30 games. We got players that fit. Tap stable.
It's so bad.
We like where we're at. Consistency. Playoffs in reach. Okay. Billy has been great off season. That's fun.
It's so bad. Yeah, and there was so much worse. And it's just like, yeah, Bulls, Probably the worst front office in the league. I think that's like a very safe thing to say at this point. Like I don't even know if that's a hot take.
It's
I feel
so
like that might be a
bad.
guarantee. It's closer to a guarantee than a hot take.
Worst front office. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing anybody.
I mean, Bulls are just consistently doing some awful stuff, man. Like, I can't remember the last time they had a good move. Actually, their
Go
good
ahead.
move just now was extending Lonzo. That's a good move.
That's a good
But
move.
Besides that, from the
Yeah.
Caruso trade to the dude, it's just
Bulls are they had the worst front office. I don't know. Like I think Cronin's for Portland is fine. Actually, I just think that they've kind of stood by Chauncey a little too long. But I mean, they're like low key hooping now. So
dude, they're like 10-1 in their last 11 games.
yeah,
They got some dominating strikes again.
Scoot Henderson breakout.
Tumani Kamara.
Danny Avdia.
Tumani Kamara held Halliburton to 0 points, man. And then he said after the game he went donut. That's
He did that. I love
Tumani's
stuff
bro.
like that.
Tumani's tough. Okay, so a few other teams. Knicks, all they really did was what? Trade Jericho Sims. I don't really
think so.
I think that was it. Magic GM was asleep through the entire deadline. He didn't
He did nothing.
he missed like 6 alarms. He didn't make any calls. The Sixers did a couple moves to get under the second apron, I'm pretty sure. And also I'm pretty sure that's what the Bucks did with the Kuzma trade. I'm pretty sure that got them under the second apron, so we should have mentioned that. Pistons, what was their only move to get Shooter? Is that all they really did?
Yeah, which I don't even think is a bad one, honestly. I kind of like them getting Dennis. They needed a second ball handler, veteran presence, especially now that you lost Jaden for the year.
Pacers rolling with their squad, which understandable. They've been one of the best teams in the league over the past month and a half. Makes sense. The only other teams, 2 teams in the East that we've yet to touch on. Well, Celtics, I don't think we really need. They weren't going to do anything. No one thought they were going to do anything. They just got rid of Jaden Springer and got like a second round pick or something, like probably just a salary dump. Actually, 3 teams. The Nets didn't do anything, which kind of shocked me. I was expecting some kind of move, maybe get some draft capital, but I don't even think they're in a bad spot as a roster right now, so it is what it is. Hornets. Actually, I'm going to save the Hornets because we can segue that into a Lakers conversation. The Raptors, what are they doing? Why do you want Brandon Ingram? You're 16-35. Like, Ingram's a good player, and the Raptors have good players, but, like, dude, why? What is the motive?
I know he's your guy, but obviously, I'm sure you know the Kevin Garnett Brooklyn Nets meme.
Yeah.
Is that Masai?
Dude, I saw a stat today that like in the last like 5 deadlines, he's traded for 7 players whose contracts expire in a year.
Yes.
And it's like, or like need a contract extension in a year. Like every time there's a player who needs to get moved, he's like, come on to Toronto, man. And then it was Jakob Poeltl before this. It was RJ Barrett. Now it's Brandon Ingram.
Emmanuel quickly, I think, would also apply.
I just don't see the motive. Like I get you're just bad. Embrace the tank. I don't know why you want Brandon Ingram because it's like, how old is Brandon Ingram at this point? I know he's not old.
Is he 28?
He is 27. So yeah, he's not old, but like his game, I don't know if this is a hot take, but I feel like Brandon Ingram's pretty clearly been like on a steady regression since like the 2022 playoffs. I feel like he just kind of gets a little bit less athletic, less rim pressure, less like he's only averaging like 3 free throw attempts a game this season, and it's like the pressure just isn't there. He's pretty much solely like he's kind of turned into DeRozan, where it's like all I can really do is utilize the mid range. And shout out to Brandon Ingram because he actually did lean into the 3 ball in the brief time he played this year. He was shooting like 6.5 threes a game, which is pretty cool. But like it's the old man game, right? And the difference is that DeRozan is like a 50% mid range shooter and Ingram just isn't. So it's like that just really caps Ingram's value. I think Ingram's a really good passer. Really underrated passer, and then his length kind of allows him to do things defensively that other guys can't. But again, none of this matters because the Raptors are still going to be like a 20-win team. So
Yeah.
why? The why? I just don't see the why. It's the second biggest why of the trade deadline behind the Mavericks. But yeah, do you
I like
have
that
any
why though.
like do you have any explanation for like why the Raptors did this? Do you see a
No.
reasoning?
I personally don't. And I've kind of been, a little bit more critical of Masai the past couple of years because I personally never was the biggest fan of the Quickly thing and how they handle Quickly. I think Quickly's a fine player, but I just wasn't willing to personally put all my eggs in the Emmanuel Quickly basket in terms of the extension he received. I thought they paid RJ too, didn't they? I think they did.
I think so.
Like I kind of understood paying RJ. I think RJ can be one of three, essentially, like one of the three core pieces on the title team. I think RJ's like kind of turned into a really good player. You have a face like you disagree with that. I'm curious.
I wonder. My question is, would RJ still look good if the team was actually competitive? Because I do think he has those tendencies where you kind of watch him and you're like, I don't know if that translates to winning basketball. Honestly, hot take. I look at the Raptors roster, and literally the only player I value as my core is Scotty Barnes.
It's Scotty Barnes. Yeah,
it's like.
But that's kind of my point.
Man.
Though. I understand that. Like I think RJ, maybe that was a reach, but I think RJ points. I think he's for sure a starter on a really good team.
Yeah, I think so.
But kind of how they've handled it, how they've handled Jakob Poeltl for the past what was it 2-3 years now?
Yeah.
What the like? Why? And I think the year they traded for Jakob Poeltl was in a wasted year anyway. They weren't good that year. So it wasn't even like a.
They've botched these few years of Scotty, like from the Siakam. Like, dude, if you were gonna trade for Brandon Ingram, why didn't you just keep Siakam? They have like similar play styles, and Siakam's just better. Like, they're just botching.
You're
everything.
better off just extending Siakam.
Keep OG Anunoby if you're gonna go this route. Like,
yeah. This has just been a botch of a situation for Toronto. They have some all right pieces here still. Like I like Grady. I like Scott. I mean, obviously Scotty's really, really good.
I love Scotty, man. Love Scotty. It's a shame what's being done to Scotty Barnes because I think now the perception of him is so bad.
Is it as bad as like LaMelo's? You said, somebody please save my boy LaMelo Ball.
Well, LaMelo kind of gets the respect from the fans, though. Scotty is like, and it makes Scotty, the situation that the Raptors have right now, it makes Scotty look even worse because Scotty, even at his peak, will probably never be idealized as a go-to like number one scoring option. And Toronto needs him to be that while also needing him to be the best defender, needing him to be the best passer. Like they got this guy like with the task list of 2018 LeBron James. No wonder he isn't productive. Like, no wonder the team sucks.
He's doing everything for them.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't even want to say free Scotty because, like, I think he, like, I like the idea of him in Toronto. I think he, like, embodies that city. Like, he feels like a Raptors player. It's just, yeah, it's weird. They're kind of just botching this whole era. Last team in the East, the Hornets. They traded Mark Williams to the Lakers. Mark Williams, I think, didn't have too much trade value just simply off the fact that long list of injuries. Like, first year it was the ankle, I believe. Second year was the back problems. This year it's been foot problems. So I get it. I get not wanting to invest your future in someone that's that injury prone. It's just really risky. But they got us like sneakily good return. I think like I don't think they did bad. I think what they got. Like, how do you feel about the Hornets' return? Ignoring the Mark Williams variable, but like just like where the Hornets are at now, I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, I honestly didn't know he was available.
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask you about that next. I'm gonna save that for the Lakers discussion because I was gonna ask you about that.
Not to interrupt, but Josh Allen won NFL MVP. So, congrats, Josh Allen. I thought Lamar was going to get it, but congrats, Josh.
I was expecting Josh Allen to get it, but then Lamar made All Pro first team,
right? Which is
and the All Pro first team. Like the MVP's like never not been on the All-Pro first team or something like that.
It's like
Some crazy.
one instance of it, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, shout out Josh Allen, man. Big game performer. I love Josh Allen, man. I'm not even a huge NFL guy, but like Josh Allen glues me to the screen, man.
He's a. I almost said he's a hooper, but
I used it to describe everyone. I called Drake a hooper earlier.
right, and then everybody like looks at you like you're stupid. Like you know exactly what I mean when I say
Hooper.
like if I said right now Shohei Ohtani's a hooper, you're not going to be like what? No, he's a hooper.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, that's valid. That's valid.
Yeah, I didn't know Mark Williams was available, but to go on to the return, I mean, I think that's the deal you kind of have to accept if you're Charlotte, and I think another good thing for Charlotte is they were gonna have to come to a decision anyway if they wanted to extend him or not. I want to say he's extension eligible this summer. If it's not this summer, it's for sure next summer. He's class of 22, so I think it's this summer. And I don't know how committed they were to giving him an extension. They really, really like Dalton Connect in the draft process. You also, I'm going to argue that the picks, if you're the Lakers at least, aren't that valuable. Because, like, okay, 2030 pick swap. You sign Luka to an extension tomorrow, for an example. That can't happen. But you sign Luka to an extension tomorrow, even if it's a 2+1 with the intention is from the opt out of the third year and sign, like, his version of the Supermax, you have no plans whatsoever on being a bad team to the point where the swap is even going to matter in 2030. And same variable kind of applies to 2031. Where, okay, cool, you have our first-round pick. If you're the Lakers, you're like, all right, that's going to be in the 20s, if not, like, 30, hopefully. So, I mean, you get 2 picks at the end of the day. You get a guy you're really, really high on, and you were able to shed some what could be future long-term salary if you were to decide to extend Mark Williams. So I actually kind of like the return for Charlotte.
Yeah, but now what is Charlotte's center rotation? Musa and Gibson?
Taj Gibson and the Big 25.
Dude, the Big 25. Shout out Taj Gibson, man. Bulls legend. Knicks legend. Yeah, Hornets, I think, like I said, you brought up my tweet, free LaMelo Ball. Just kind of, it's not the same thing as the Raptors, but the Hornets have, like, nothing going for them. What's that face? What happened?
Lakers are dogging Golden State right now.
Oh yeah, I've been keeping tabs. The Warriors' offense is freaking ridiculously bad.
I turned the game off because I was like looking at my TV a little too much earlier.
Dude, bad,
and
bad.
Bron's hooping.
Yeah, I saw Bron. Yeah, Bron's hooping. Hornets are in a weird spot where it's like LaMelo Ball clearly already really good. Brandon Miller. I'm still pretty high on Brandon Miller, but did not really progress his game at all in year 2. Like, hopefully that's just a sophomore slump. I feel like he kind of just ended up repeating his rookie season with a few different tendencies and then got hurt. And it's like
some increased volume maybe because of the injury.
Yeah, some increased and more 3-pointers instead of mid-range jumpers and things like that. But like the flaws with Miller are still very obvious where it's like, I'm not a huge rim pressure guy. I don't get to the line much. So it's, yeah, I don't know. I don't think Miller's the guy you can bank on where the rest of the stuff stops mattering because Miller and Ball are just that good. Like, I think there's a lot of situations where a duo can be that good and you kind of just figure out everything else after that. I don't think LaMelo and Miller are that good to where the Hornets can just figure everything out. And the Hornets roster sucks. Their roster sucks. So,
how many guys on the roster do you like?
2.
Like going forward.
It's the 2
LaMelo and Brandon Miller.
I don't like Miles Bridges on the court. I don't like Miles Bridges on the court. I just don't think he's that productive of a player. I don't think he's terrible, but like I don't view him as like an impact guy on a playoff team. What else they got? Josh Green, Grant Williams. I think Trey Mann's cool. I don't think he's like an impact playoff player. Their center rotation is Taj Gibson and Musa Diabete. I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah, I know where we're
he's
going
pretty
for,
good. He's all right. I don't mind him. He's a really good offensive rebounder. But yeah. How do you feel about Salon?
I think he kind of matches the like slow rebuild timeline. I think. I thought there were better players available. At where they pick at 7. Yeah, I thought I thought it was a little bit of a reach. I did think it was a little bit of a reach, but he kind of fit.
Yeah.
If you're going for super long term rebuild, but that's the problem. You have LaMelo Ball on your team.
Yeah. Who's already averaging like 29 points a game. Like,
That's what I'm saying.
He's here. He's here.
So I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of out. Raptors and Hornets are the two teams where I'm like, I would hate to be a fan of them right now. It's just kind of sucks. Same with the Mavericks. I would hate to be a Mavs fan right now. Even if the Mavs are going to be competitive, like, what a disaster of a situation. Yeah, I think we kind of came into this. Our last episode was talking about the Lakers. I guess we can stop there too. Like, we can finish off on the Lakers because they were obviously the team involved with the Mark Williams deal. I know you've been watching a lot of Mark Williams film in the last 2 days. So, how are you feeling about the Lakers situation now that they have a big?
The initial reaction is like, okay, this might be an overpay, but it was an overpay that you kind of just had to do for Luka, for the timeline, and to like get yourself a playable big. And Jackson Hayes, to give him a little bit of credit, Jackson Hayes has been playing, for his standards, pretty solid recently. He's played like a NBA rotation level big, and that is as high praise as I can give Jackson Hayes. But getting Mark Williams, it somewhat solidifies your rotation for your big spots. Where we at the very least have two playable centers on the team instead of one maybe rotation level big. And then if Kleba ever gets back this season, then you have like a stretch five or like a small ball five that you could throw into the mix. Now you get Mark Williams, who at the very least is a really, 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 really fun offensive player. At the very least, right?
Yeah.
Really, really good touch. He's a really good lob threat to have for Luka and Braun. I think the best way I saw somebody describe it was he's not an A+, like S tier level lob threat. Like I think the example used was Evan Mobley, actually. But like whatever that like tier below is, like right below that, that's kind of the level Mark Williams is as a lob threat.
I actually think you could argue he will be in that tier next to Luka though.
Yeah.
Like I think some of it is like LaMelo isn't looking for the lob pass as much, and then like anyone else, I think the Hornets playmaking limited what Mark Williams could be as a lob threat, if that makes sense.
I get where you're coming from. And then Luka's one of the three best lob throwers, like lob passers in the league. Like the first two guys that came to my mind immediately in the league currently, the two first guys that came to my head was Luka and Trey.
And then Harden. Luka, Trey, and Harden are probably the top three all time.
Yeah.
And then like Chris Paul's up there too.
Yeah.
Like those are the guys.
Those are the guys.
Dude, and Mark not only like has like the radius because of the crazy standing reach and the vertical leap, he's really, really good at positioning himself off the ball and making himself a target. And he rolls hard every time. It's so underrated to just roll hard off of screens, man. And Luka's gonna love that.
Yeah, I absolutely buy the fit with him next to Luka offensively. I'm curious if we ever see the touch kind of lead to his range expanding a little bit. Because one, he has good touch. Two, he's a legitimately good option as a free throw shooter. Shooting, I want to say 78% from the line this season. We talked about this in a way I described it on a video I did for my Lakers channel. Was if I love comparing things like quarterbacks or whatever. If you have a quarterback and you basically say, hey, look, it's 3rd and 2, your read is to throw the flat route or run. That's Mark Williams as a short roll playmaker. It is. If that corner guy comes over, throw the ball to the corner dude or whatever, and if not, just try to go punch it at the rim or finish. Go with the little push shot that you have in your bag, and that's it. Throw the corner skip pass, or if he wants to cut or whatever. If not, it is a push shot from 8 feet or whatever. Only two options. And I think he's more than capable of doing that. The Hornets have incorporated more DHO action stuff this season. So some Hornet fans or people in general might try to say he's a handoff merchant. Which they do a good bit of handoff stuff for him in Charlotte, but he's a really, really good offensive player, and I will leave it at that for now. Really good offensive rebounder too.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. I wanted to throw two stats at you. One of them is he's ninth in the NBA this season, 4.8 offensive rebounds per 75.
Sheesh.
That alone, man, off of Luka step back threes and off of like Luka LeBron action, Mark Williams, you have to account for him as an offensive rebounder, and those are automatic putbacks too if he secures a second chance. Also, crazy Mark Williams stat. This one kind of blew my mind because I knew he was a big interior threat, but this one was just like crazy. He's one of only two players this season attempting at least 10 shots at the rim per 75.
How many?
Two. Him and Giannis. And he's doing that on a team that had no spacing and like two good playmakers.
Dang.
So now he's playing with Luka and LeBron? Are we sure Mark Williams isn't a 20-point per game guy? Like if he's healthy?
So one of the takes that I had, one of the things that I one disagree with in general, but one of the comments I got my mention, it's either on YouTube or on Twitter, I was like, man, I don't know how you guard like Luka Braun, PNR or whatever, right? And the comment was basically like, well, you just switch it or whatever because without no capable big, it doesn't really matter. Which first off, that's idiotic as hell. But now in a playoff setting, like. How do you like? I have no real issue with the Lakers scoring in a playoff setting. None.
Well, I was just going to ask you, like, how many team offenses are you confidently saying are better than the Lakers right now? I can get to two. I can get to two, and it's if the playoffs started. Is your one Cleveland?
Oh, are we doing? I was just focused on the West. My bad.
Oh, I'm thinking in the league. I think they're the second best offense in the West. I think in the West, it's just Denver.
Yeah, okay.
Denver's the only offense I think is concretely better than LA.
And that's not Denver Glaze. That's not Denver Glaze.
No, Denver's just crazy.
They have the hardest single like offensive engine in the league to worry about in Jokic post-ups. They still have two-man game with either Russ and Jokic or Jamal and Jokic, and then they have their three-man stuff with they'll incorporate Aaron Gordon. Christian Brown's a hooper. I love Christian Brown.
I'm gonna actually backtrack. I think Denver is better, but I don't think it's concrete. Like I wouldn't be surprised if LA has a better offense heading into the playoffs. Because like, dude, the playmaking trio of Bron, Reeves, and Luka.
I didn't know that was a hot take either. Did you see my tweet?
No, what was it?
Dog, I said the other day it like did well in air quotes on Twitter. I said Bron, Luka, and Reeves is like good luck like stopping that levels of playmaking. They're easily the best half court like playmaking squad or team. I forget how I phrased it.
In a long time.
In the league, period.
In a long time.
And then somebody goes, well, oh my God, did Joker and Russ just die? Like, all right, guys.
Like, yeah, I think that's the other argument. Joker, Russ, and Jamal probably. That'd be like the other one you can come up with, but I'd take Luka, Braun, and Reeves.
Take Luka, Braun, and Reeves.
Yeah, I would too. And then they have Mark Williams pulling it all together. If he can stay healthy, I think that's the big caveat, though, because this offense can't compete with Denver if Mark Williams isn't on the court. But if he's on the court, this offense can compete with anyone. Like I said, if I was ranking offenses right now going into the playoffs,
Cleveland.
My top five, I'd have one Cleveland, two Denver, three would be the Lakers, then I'd go Boston, and then New York.
New York.
Yeah, probably New York. Indiana's up there somewhere.
Yeah, at some point you'll run into like your OKC.
Yeah,
at some
and then
point.
Like Sacramento too. Sacramento's a pretty good. Their defense is. We didn't really talk about the Kings with the Levine stuff, and I don't really want to. I guess because we're already kind of past that. We kind of already passed that, but I like the Levine move kind of because you didn't really like. You had to get rid of Fox. That's kind of where it was headed, and then you got a first back. They got 3 firsts, but I think like with the way it all works, they kind of only get 1 first. I don't really know how all the pick stuff works. Levine's a good player. Their offense is going to be super high powered, but easily one of the worst defensive teams in the league. Actually, maybe the only defense that I trust less than the Lakers among like the top 20 teams in the league. And I guess that's just where
that's a good segue to their defense.
I was gonna say that's kind of where I want to like finish off my point in the Lakers is Mark Williams is a very athletic, tooly big. Like he's got the wingspan, he's got the verticality, he's a pretty good shot blocker, but positionally just not a good technical defender yet. I think he can get there, but whether it's in isolation, he has bad positioning in isolation against bigs. He struggles with physicality, so if guys go into his chest, he will get bumped. He will foul a lot in those situations. Like AD just gave him 42 and 23 in his last full game as a Laker. He also struggles with guys like Jokic, Sabonis, just Valanciunas even, like guys who can get into his chest. He really struggles with. And then doesn't know how to play drop coverage. Like, there was a Bulls game where Zach LaVine was basically just walking around him out of pick and roll. He often lets the roller get behind him for lobs and offensive rebounds. That's a big problem because the Lakers do not have the point of attack defense to cover that. And it's an even bigger problem because Mark Williams also isn't switchable. So you're kind of forced to make him defend traditional pick and roll coverages. And then it's like he just can't execute them. And so to me, that's kind of my biggest drawback with the whole Lakers moves is, look, you got Luka, Reeves, LeBron, Mark, Vando, Dorian Finney-Smith. That's 6 guys I really like. I really like Gabe Vincent too. 7 guys I really like. None of those guys really are two-way, where it's like we have some really good defensive players. We have some really good offensive players. We don't have that Derek White, that Drew Holiday, that really just connects both sides of the ball. And so the team, like I said, I think they're the 3rd best offense in the NBA. I also think they're like the 26th best defense. And that recipe historically has never translated to a championship.
Yeah.
So that's like, I think they're a sneaky, if everything goes right type of team. And I think, wouldn't be surprised at all if they win a series or two. But I'm still not there on them as contenders. I actually think this is like the experimental year. And then in the offseason, they're going to retool. And then I think 2026 is the real, like, okay, Lakers are contending.
Yeah, I think that, one of the, I think incentives about keeping a Rui, keeping a Gabe, keeping some of those guys around this year is that they'll be able to use those and go to the table this summer. Like, hey, you have long-term salary here. We have some expirings for you and we'll absorb that long-term salary for you and get that off your books. One thing that I think I floated around on the last show that I'm going to walk back a little bit now after like talking to some people and, understanding the rationale is them potentially trading Austin because they are at the deadline potentially trading Austin. Because I still agree with this. He's their most valuable asset currently, and you could easily like flip that into, X really good rotation player that can make a difference for them. Whether it's another POA guard, it's ironic you trade Max Christie, and like that's the archetype of player that would really, really, really do good things for you right now. Is if you just went to go grab Max Christie. But I think they're gonna give it a chance in terms of seeing how Luka and Austin are able to fit next to each other, and then obviously like how LeBron kind of fits into that whole piece as well. But hypothetically, they can go to the table. Good grief, they go to the table this summer to somehow combine table and summer together. They can go to the table this summer and present teams like, look, we have all this expiring salary, and then we have Austin Reeves. If you're interested as well, and you have to pay Austin, but like. In 2 years, is paying Austin Reeves like $22 million the worst thing in the world for a team? Like, that's still maybe slightly below market value, for an example. Defensively, I don't disagree with you. I brought this up on the video that I was talking about earlier. One of the things that makes you an elite drop big, think AD, think Rudy Gobert, is the ability to kind of play like that cat and mouse and understand there is a 7-foot like athletic big rolling behind you ready to dunk on you at a moment's chance, but also having to show yourself and have the hip fluidity to move and navigate, and be able to stay in front of the opposing team's ball handler while your POA guy is recovering back into the action. And the way I'll describe it as just more bad, like way more bad, but there are this isn't good, but every 9 possessions, there's one where like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a good possession, Mark Williams. That's a good drop, defensive possession. Whether it's, hey, you actually like showed yourself and was able to navigate here, or you played the 2-minute game nicely and didn't get beat over the top. You'll get that one every 9 possessions. I like the way you said it. I think he's rangy. I think he's toolsy. Good shot blocker at the very least. And you're
also,
hoping
big time rebounder. I want to mention
huge
that
rebounder.
Huge rebounder.
You're hoping. I think the good news is, if you're a Laker fan, is I think it's technically fixable. Like it's technically not something that you couldn't, through an off season of work, encore work, and like film, couldn't fix necessarily.
Yeah.
But this so far this season, like it just hasn't been good.
So do you agree with me that like this team's a legit point of attack defender or two away from being like a tier 1 team? That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah.
So I want to throw some names at you. Like just like guys that kind of come to mind. How do you feel? So this one he might be cooked, but I imagine the Wizards are going to buy out Marcus Smart, and we know Rob Pelinka loves the buyout market. So like, how would you feel about Marcus Smart?
Well, I'm glad I don't have to think about that because I don't think they'll be able to get him because of first apron rules.
Oh, yeah, see, I don't know how that works. I thought you were about to hit me with, I'm glad I don't have to think about it because it just happened. And I was, because it was right when you looked at your phone, and I was like, dude, are we serious? Okay.
Just broke news in the most nonchalant way possible.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's wild. GP2. How do you feel about GP2?
Hell yeah.
GP2's nasty. Yeah, GP2, I think you can make the offense if it worked because you have such an elite offense. Like, you have so many good offensive players. I think Dyson Daniels would be freaking awesome. I really was advocating for Aaron Nesmith.
So, like, the last hour of the stream I did earlier was just basically me praying for any chance that Aaron Nesmith was available.
Did you see my trade proposal earlier?
I did not.
Yeah, I did a trade machine, and it was, like, obviously you'd have to include some other assets, but it was Rui Hachimura for Aaron Nesmith and Ijax.
Oh, I might have seen that. Yeah, I think I did see that.
That's nice. One guy, actually, I didn't touch on him when we talked about the Raptors, but I kind of forgot he existed.
Ochai?
Yeah, I was going to say, he'd be a good fit with this Lakers roster.
Yeah.
I think Haywood Highsmith, dude, Chris Dunn.
Oh, my God.
Chris Dunn, dude.
That's the guy I really wanted, actually, in the summer. No, you know a name that guy that they had every chance in the world to keep him?
Who?
But Spencer Dinwiddie would, like, low-key be nice as hell.
You're high on Dinwiddie's defense?
No, just in general. I think having another guy.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I think he'd comfortably be, like, I think Dinwiddie's a better defender than Austin.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too. Too. How about a KCP reunion?
Basically that archetype. KCP, Max Christie, Aaron Nesmith, yes. Yes. It's all of those guys. One idea that I tossed around was basically like all your swaps, and then you aggregate the Kleba contract to get Aaron Nesmith. Now, I don't know why the Pacers would have any incentive to do that. Yeah. And who knows, like, if your swaps like mean anything. But yeah, that was kind of the shot in the dark trade I had.
Yeah, but that's all I got on the Lakers. You got anything else, or just even on the deadline in general?
No, I think that's
I think we pretty much hammered it all out in like an hour and 20 minutes. This wasn't too bad. I was worried we'd be here for 7 hours. Let me ask you this.
Some of the teams we didn't harp on, like the Hawks or the Kings, we didn't really go in detail about.
I want to ask you then, just real quick before we get out of here.
Okay.
Biggest winner, biggest loser.
Biggest loser.
I think biggest loser is between the Bulls, the Hawks, and the Suns. Those are the three teams that I was thinking.
I lean Atlanta because you might have just alienated Trey and made Trey just go, all right, look, I'm asking out this summer.
Yeah.
And you're starting over if that happens.
I think I'm with you.
Phoenix is just stuck in purgatory, and Chicago is just to Chicago. I can't even be surprised at Chicago anymore. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at with Chicago. Biggest winner, do not get on my ass, but like we're crying out loud. They got Luka Doncic. I don't care.
I agree. No, I agree. I think it's the Lakers too. It's like I think the Lakers are number one. I think Cavs are in that discussion.
Sure.
I think Miami's in that discussion. Is that the big three in terms of who won the deadline? I feel like that's pretty.
Brandon Ingram doesn't move you?
No, but actually, we didn't even talk about the Pelican side of that. I do like them getting rid of Ingram and like choosing the Trey Murphy, Zion Herb direction.
Yes.
That's nice.
I do have one question for you. Do you have any opinion on Denver doing nothing at the deadline?
No, I just think like I don't think they needed to do anything. It was like if the right deal presented itself, I'd consider it. Mm-hmm. But like this is kind of as good as they're gonna get, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at. So we agree, Lakers and Hawks, biggest winner, biggest loser.
Yeah.
That's gonna wrap up episode number 27. We really appreciate you guys listening. Let us know down in the comments who you think the biggest winners and losers of this deadline were, because it was, in my opinion, and maybe it might even be the objective opinion, the most eventful, craziest deadline ever. So crazy, in fact, that I think people even forgot that the Super Bowl is in like 3 days.
I tweeted that out earlier. I'm like, oh yeah, the Super Bowl is definitely Sunday.
I genuinely forgot the Super Bowl was in 3 days because this has been such an eventful week. I'm on my 7-day upload streak right now, maybe 6 or 7 day upload streak, and there will be more videos continued daily. I haven't stopped working since the deadline started, since the Luka trade. Actually, that's like what really marked it. And ever since then, I've just been like glued to my computer, and that will continue to happen. So if you want to see that content, go check out my YouTube, Hoop Venue. Make sure you follow us on social media. My stuff is all either under Hoop Venue or under my name, Tyler Britton _. His stuff is Sean _Davis 23 on Instagram, Sean _DAVI on Twitter, and his YouTube channels are the Sports Headline Show and the Los Angeles Lakers Network. That pretty much covers it, man. Like I said, we appreciate you guys listening. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, drop a 5-star review. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a like and subscribe. And that'll be it, man. Appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you in episode number 28.